Since we are addressing the calendar table for time series data, let's begin by first pulling in some time series data. I'm sharing my screen. So I have data here, which I will connect to. So let me get some data. My data is in a folder. Let me connect to the folder. So the folder I've connected to has multiple CSV files, 36 in all. That's one file for each month of 3 different years. Mhm. I will combine and transform this data. Mm. I apologize that I will not be able to see raised hands because since we are in webinar mode, unfortunately, I'll be the one doing all the talking. However, feel free to put in anything that you want to ask in chat, since I will keep checking it from time to time. I request you to not post anything in Q&A since I will not be looking at that much. But feel free to go ahead and let me know whatever questions you have here. So let me show this to you again. I'm getting data. However, I'm not getting data from an Excel workbook. I'm getting data at this moment from a folder. So I click on Get Data and I select folder. When I click on Connect, this asks me for the folder path, and I have here a folder path which is already set. So I connect straight to the entire folder. When I select the folder, are you able to hear me? I see someone has noted no voice. All right. Okay. So you can hear me. Great. So we are using Power BI today, and that is what this is all about. The folder itself has a bunch of subfolders, and so this is the folder that we're connecting to. The folder has 3 subfolders, and each subfolder has 12 files, one for each month. Since this is time series data, this is some dummy data regarding sales. I will connect to the sales underscore CSV folder, which is what I have here. I click on OK. And going with this, I see a list of all of the names of the files. These files are then available, all of these files, as individual files. However, I will choose to combine and transform the data. So what I'm doing is I'm connecting to a folder. From that file, I'm pulling in all 36 files. It wants me to know which should be the sample file. The first file is what is selected. And this is where I have the entire list. We started at 3 sharp. If you have missed anything, please feel free to look at the recording, which will be shared with all of you. Since we are looking at understanding what a calendar table is all about, I am just pulling in some time series data. I do not need to change this. I can leave it as the first file and I pull in the entire data. At this point, Power BI does the heavy lifting. It pulls in the data. It adds the name of each file, which it shows me as source.name. I do not need this since I do have already an order date which is available. I can remove this column and my data is ready to be used. I'm sorry, I see a question on basic concepts on Power BI. Uh, this session is entirely on not on Power BI overall, but on the calendar table in Power BI. So we are looking at how to use the calendar table, what use is the calendar table, what good does it do in Power BI. So today's session is focused on this simple question. And for to answer this question, we are using first basic data. So this is, I will rename this to sales. So when I close and apply, I have the data available to me. It doesn't matter what data it is, it's just time series data. And as time series data, all I'm doing is pulling in the data to understand what happens. I see the confusion. It while Learn Power BI in 60 minutes is the series. Today's session is exclusively, and that's something that's called out. You will see what good is the calendar table in time series data. All right, so now I have pulled in the data. Having pulled in the data, I can see here, this is my sales table, the sales query. And in this query, I have customer key, month, order date, etc., etc. This is what my data looks like in the table view. I have an year, I have a month number, I have a product key, order date, ship date, customer key, etc., etc., etc. Now, with all of this, imagine that I wish to see data for the time series by order date. So I want to see sales amount by order date. So to understand the calendar table, we first understand how we use data without a calendar table. If I have time series data such as this, and I pull in, so I have an order date. Let me take the order date and pull it in. This gives me the order date as a list. I can take this entire list of order. I also have my sales amount. There's my sales amount. Let me pull in the sales amount. And what it does is it automatically this has created a a trend of the data by date. So it shows me the sum of the sales amount by date. All right. So this is what happens by default. This is the default behavior without needing to do anything else. While I'm here, let me look at order date. So if you see, I have aggregations that are possible. I have the order date. I can look at earliest, which gives me very quickly just one single number. This is the earliest order. Or I can say, no, I do not want to summarize this, in which case it maintains the entire trend. Now, this by default, using the date column without doing anything else, like you can see here, it gives me a display which shows Jan 2006, July 2006, Jan 2007, so on and so forth. but the data itself is visible to me by individual dates. All right. This is what is a standard time series data without any additional effort made on the time series. I believe there is some confusion. I have just seen a lot of different points here. Some of you have noticed that the agenda was what good is a calendar table for time series data? Can you confirm that this is something that you are able to see in the agenda? Because this is what has been published. Like I said, the Learn Power BI in 60 minutes is a series. However, today's session is focused on what good is a calendar table for time series data. This is available in the agenda part. I'm so sorry, today's session, if there is that confusion, we will not be covering the basics of Power BI. We are looking at the calendar table. So today, what we have done is to pull in the data. We have covered earlier various sessions on the basics. I'm sorry about that you were misled by the title. Right. So what we have right now is entirely the basic data where I'm looking at time series, making no other effort. If I wish to see this data differently, if I wish to use a calendar table, first let me confirm to you what exactly a calendar table is. When we have data inside in a time series manner, we may have a start date and an end date which can fall anywhere within the year. When we are looking at this data, we do not wish to have the data itself presented as individual bars, but as an entire trend. When we are looking at data as a trend, we wish to have even intervals. For this reason, we require dates which may not exist within our data, but we need it to allow for a smooth, a complete trend to be visible. For this reason, there are two kinds of data there are two approaches that we can take, of which I am taking only the second one. The first one is that of using an auto calendar. This is extremely basic and very raw and not something that I ever recommend. What I would suggest is that we use data using a custom calendar table. I have provided a script which I will show you, and that script will help you. I will also see if I can have that. Uh, just a minute. Give me a moment while I move to the script. This is what the script looks like. Now, this script in itself, I would not require any one of you to write it out, to create it from scratch. I will copy the entire script, come back to Power BI, click on transform data to go back to Power Query. I will add a new source, which is a blank query. Please note at this point, for the dates creation, the calendar creation, I'm going to use a new source, blank query in Power Query. So in the Power Query editor, I open a blank query. I will rename this query 1 as dates in the plural. If you can see, this is completely blank. The source is blank. The entire thing is completely blank because this is a blank query. However, when I go into the advanced editor, so as you can see here, I click on the advanced editor. It shows me there is nothing inside really except for this let source blank in source. I will overwrite this with the copy and pasted code. This script is something that will develop an entire table for me. The calendar itself, my from year, the data is from 2006. So I will replace this as 2006 and this as 2008. All right. So I have from year 2006 to year 2008 because that is the duration of my data. Since my data is from 2006 to 2008, I have set those. I do not need to touch anything else in this. I leave everything else as is and just click on done. What does this do? This generates dates from the start of 2006, that is 1st January 2006, all the way down to 31st December 2008. However, it does not stop with this because this is something which even the calendar auto can allow. What this does additionally is this script shows me how many days there are in this month for this particular date. So if I were to take 14th of January, 14th of January has 31 days in the month since it's a January. This is the 14th day of the month, and there are 17 days remaining. This is the day of week 6, which is Saturday or SAT in short. Similarly, I have additional pieces. I have offset end of week, which shows me there is only one day left in this week. It shows me this is the 14th day of the year. And the start of this week is 9th Jan. The end of this week is 15th Jan. The week of the calendar year is the second. So this is the second week of the calendar year. However, considering that I have set by default 4 as a start of the fiscal year, which means that the fiscal year starts in April, which is typical of India. The week of calendar year is 2, but week of fiscal year is 41. So 14th of January falls in the 41st week of the fiscal year or the financial year. Are we good so far? I apologize to all of those who have come in looking at a basic session. We'll ensure that this is clarified in the future. This data that we see is displayed due to the code. How you create this script? Well, I can share the script with you if I'm not too sure how, but I'll try and see if this can be posted along with the link. So along with the recording link, I'll see if I can get this shared as well. I'm not too sure how that happens. But suffice to say, what we are doing, if you wish to understand this a bit more in detail, for those of you who have an understanding, I will just show you one piece here. Let me show you what happens inside the Power Query Editor. The script itself, if I take, right. So if I wish to know which month, what's the name of the month? 14th January is in the month of January. The way to do that is to get month name using the function date dot month name. for the date. That's all. Date.monthName creates January. If I wish to have now a month short name, using this date to text, we create MMM as a format, and this gives us Jan, JAN in short, the first three letters. So these are functions that are being used, default time intelligence functions that are available as part of the M language in Power Query. And this allows us to build this entire step-by-step script. So I have split this up. I have some day columns, which gives me, for example, days in month, which say I use date dot days in month for the date. And I say this is a type number. Similarly, I have day of week name, for which I have a ready-made function called date dot day of week name, which is type text. All right. This is what I'm doing to build the script. And this entire script is starting from the year 2006. And I have a start date which is already set to date 1st of January 2006, end date 31st December 2 year, which is 2008. Now, yes, this script is not something you need to learn to code, because honestly, a lot of you will then be pulling your hair out, wondering what exactly this is all about. No, the script is something that if I'm able to get to share it with you, I'm not too sure how, but I'll try my level best to share the text file. This is the text file that I have. I will try and share this text file across. All you will need to do is copy paste. Let me show you again how this is added in. Let me delete dates and recreate. This is a very important step, so please keep note of what exactly is happening here. Inside the Power Query editor, I go to New Source and I select a blank query. When I select a blank query, it gives me by default query 1. I can rename this query 1 and call it dates. Excel data is in itself something, it is time series data. Any time series data is good. If you have any kind of data with dates in it, then you do not require what I have created here. You can use your own data and the script. Now with this date, I select advanced editor. I replace the code inside with the script that I have. I ensure that I set my from year to 2006 and my 2 year to 2008, since the data that I'm using is between 2006 and 2008. This is all I need to set. There is nothing else that I need to touch. With this done, it has created the date, and for each date, it has provided additional information. While a lot of this information can be used in any other, in multiple different forms in DAX, I will show you the simplest of ways of using it. Now, the question is, what if I set the 2 year as 2023? Well, it will do no harm. It's just that the date table will be quite large because it will create 365 days for the year. So all the way from 2006 to 2023, it will provide me as many days. That's all. But it will do nothing to the sales data. The sales data will remain, my own data will remain as is, untouched. Let me make a small little change, ensure that this is not date time, but just date. I don't need it to be date time. Date is good enough for my current problem. All right. So I have got everything in place. I have sales, I have dates. I can do a close and apply. Once I do a close and apply, well, I seem to have some errors. One of the loaded queries contains errors. So let me check what these errors are. There seem to be 1096 rows. Let's look at view errors. When I click on view errors, it takes me back inside Power Query. And in the Power Query editor, it shows me errors in dates. Let me scroll down and see. I may have some error here. Let me scroll on down. What does it show me? I'm looking for error. Ah, year week. Year week shows me an error. So to understand what is causing this error, I will click on any one and it says the type of the value does not match the type of the column. Details 200601. All right, let me see what is happening. Let me go back to my dates. My script seems to be off. I have here year week. Year week, I have set it to int64 dot type. Hmm. So let me see if I should make this. This seems to be right actually. This is not a decimal number. It is a whole number. This is a whole number. All right. So I don't see a problem with this. It is pulling it out correctly. I do not see any issues. 2077. All right. 8. This seems to be perfectly all right. I don't see what the problem is. I will for now delete the errors in date, delete this group since I do not need it. Close and apply. Look at my table view. In the table view, let me look at dates and see if I have everything that I actually need. Year week seems to be blank, but that's all right. I can ignore it for now. I will sort out why I'm getting an error later. For now, I have created a date table, a calendar table called dates. Now, when I'm in table view, you can see here mark as date table. This is an important step that I need to make, mark as date table. It will prompt me what the date column should be. So I need to select what is the date column. It's date. So it's validated successfully and I say, okay. All right. So I have now a date table that is set as a date table. The date itself, let me change the format. Let me take a shorter format. Okay, let me take this one. Right. Start of week. Let me do the same. Let me use a shorter format. End of week, ditto. Now, there are some additional pieces of work that I need to do here. Let me explain what I'm going to do and why I'm going to do it. But I will do that in just a bit because I want you to see how I'm going to use this table. Let me create in the model view a small linkage. Okay. So I have here date and I want to connect it to the order date. So let me connect up the two, drag and drop, and I have created a one is to many relationship between these. Okay, right. So you can see clearly that I have a one is to many relationship created between dates date and sales order date. What does this mean? Instead of using dates, the order date like I did earlier, let me switch around the instead of order date, I will add in from date. How about I take year? This will automatically take the data and show it to me. Of course, the formatting is off. I'll take care of the formatting, but it shows me 2006, 7, and 8. It has automatically aggregated the data at the year level. And this is something which is available to me since I have the year. If I wish to switch, I don't like this format. How about I change this? Let's go down to year. Where is my year? There. My year, I was not a decimal number. It's a whole number. Yes, indeed. Please correct it. By correcting this here, I ensure that I see 2006, 2007, 2008 as I should. Now I have an option. Instead of using year, how about I use from the same dates, year, month. Let me get year, month code. What year, month code does is gives me all the months. Two zero six all the way down to 208, but I see something a little off. Is this normal? 50? That doesn't look right. Let me go into my year, month code. This is my year, month code. It is set as whole number. Don't summarize. And this is how it displays. So I have 2006, 10, 11, 12, 01, and so on and so forth. Okay, so I do not have an issue here. I have a question I didn't notice earlier that says I have only one table, employee, and I have few dates in that table. For example, date of joining, termination, date of project start. I'm not going to perform any time intelligence function, but I'm using functions like date diff. Is it necessary to create a date table or not? Well, a date table is still recommended. Let me show you a little bit of what happens if I use a date table. I am going to switch this. You see here, I have, instead of year month code, I will use the year month. So dates and year month. Of course, there's only one slight problem that year month by default, while it shows me everything, if I wish to see it in alphabetical order, if I want to sort the axis by year month instead of the sum, it takes the literal alphabetical order. I can fix this very easily. Inside my table view, I go to year month, and year month, since it is a combination of text and numbers, So alphanumeric. I can use this and say sort by column. Don't use year month, use year month code. Just by doing the sort by column and switching to year month code, my data will now display entirely based on the actual months using the month code 2006, January, February, March, April, May, etc. So this is in the correct order. If I wish to see my data like this. So if you want to report based on a combination of month and year, you can easily do it because you're using a date table. This is just one of the advantages. I have a question on what exactly is the problem statement. The problem statement, well, there is no real problem statement here. What we are learning here is how do I use a calendar table? What is the purpose of a calendar table when reporting? So if I have a calendar table, this is something that is quite easy for me to achieve. I can view by month and year, a combination of month and year out of the box, just because I'm using a custom calendar table. What if I wish to make this even more interesting? I need this to be flexible. Can I make this flexible? Quite easily. Let me show you how. I click on modeling. So home, insert modeling. Under modeling, I decide to set a new parameter on fields. So I have a new parameter, and this parameter I will call date selection. Okay. I will call this date selection. And from dates, let me start pulling in year. Let me get the year month. Um, I could take week of calendar year, week of fiscal year, or how about I just use month short name, and I use date as well. Okay. So what have I done? In the modeling ribbon, I have selected new parameter fields in which I have given it a name. I have selected the different options that I want for reporting. I have left this checkbox as is, add slicer to this page, and I say create. What this does is inside my list of dates and sales, I now have a new option, a parameter called date selection. I have not typed out any of this. Based on the selection that I made, this has got created. The code has been written automatically. I'm not worried about that code. Let me show you what this means. There's a selection option presented here. Okay, this is my date selection option. Let me quickly format this to ensure that my slicer settings are set to single select. Right. So I have a single select, a vertical list. I leave it as is. Now, or how about I make this a drop down? All right. I'll just make this a drop down. There we go. Now, you remember when we were setting up this chart, I created year month as an option. Instead of year month, I will use date selection, date selection. If you can see what has happened, my date selection is set to year. It is now displaying year. If I switch this to year month, it will move this to year month. I can choose to say, show me by week of fiscal year across or week of calendar years, right across. I don't want these to be decimal numbers. Let me go into the table view. In the table view, let me select week of calendar year and say, hello, this is not a decimal number. Ditto for the fiscal year. This is also not a decimal number. Right. So coming back here, this shows me by week of calendar year, sum of sales amount across 3 years. I can switch to week of fiscal year. It'll give me a different set of numbers. I can switch to date. It will show me by date. Right now, this is set to sum of sales amount, and that's why it's filtered this way. It's sorted that way. Sorry. This selection, date selection, allows me a lot of flexibility in my reporting. If I present this to my end users and allow them to look at the data as they see fit, can you imagine the control that they will get? If I switch this to a trend, this is my year trend, year month trend, week of calendar year trend. I switch it to fiscal year, my trend changes, month short name, and so on and so forth. I have complete control now over this reporting. Now, my question to you, is this something that you can actually use in your with your data? Whatever your data. If you have some kind of dates, is this something that you could use for reporting flexibility? Let me look at the questions. I'm sorry, I haven't been paying attention. If I need to have numbers on top of the horizontal bar, how could I make it? I'm so sorry, I'm not clear on that question. Could you expand on that, Ujjwal? And yes, I have another question. How come the chart disappeared and data showing in a different format? Well, when you set this up, there are some ways in which Power BI tends to behave a little differently. So by default, it moved to a table format. But the fact that I can choose what format I wish to use, there is no reason why I would use bars or columns. But nevertheless, if I were to decide and use columns, so let me take a clustered column chart. So if I were to do this, then this is what it would retain. As I switch along, it will retain this. But know that this is not a good use of a column or a bar chart. The best is a line chart because that shows you the trend, the movement, if you will. Now, yes, you're right. You can add more filters to this. At this moment, I have only added year month, but I can add more. How about let's do that. So coming back inside, I click on date selection. Let's say I wish to add a different one. Let me copy this, paste it in. I will call this month, right? Retain the name of dates and I say month name there, month name. So I say month name, close brackets, comma, and I will renumber this to 5 and this to 6. Okay. So it's numbered 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is the order in which it will display these elements. I can switch these around. Let me make this month short name as 5 and this month as 4. I leave date at 6. So I made a correction here. When I come back to my selection, it gives me one more option called month in the fourth place, fifth place actually. Okay, so this shows me month, but my month is displaying it in descending order. So you can see this. Instead of month, I can use month short name and it will do that. All right. So this is a very basic, simple usage. If I wish to add additional pieces to this, I can. Uh, I can go back and using the same modeling, I can put a new parameter, fields. Shall I call this measure selection? And in this measure selection, I will add in sales amount, order quantity. And let's just put in tax amount as well. Okay. Let me move this around. So I have sales amount, tax amount, order quantity. I'm going to create a new parameter. If you look at my list now, I have measure selection. I can see this list here. Again, I'm going to make a small change. Inside my visual, I have date selection and I have sum of sales amount. Instead of this, I will add from my measure selection, measure selection. So I have sales amount, tax amount, order quantity, and what has happened? Why is this not behaving itself? Give me a moment. My measure selection is not showing me the sales amount. Give me a moment. Add back from sales. Let me take order quantity and I have order quantity. Okay. Let me go back to measure selection, select measure selection. And what exactly is the matter? I do need to set this up as measures. That's why my error. I will not use this measure selection. I will, however, show you how to do this with a category selection. Okay, I will just rename this. Let me delete this and create a new one altogether. Delete from model. Yes, indeed. And let me add a filter. So a completely new modeling, new parameter, fields, category selection. And under my category selection, I will use say a promotion key, product key, customer key, sales territory key. Okay, so on this basis, I would like to see the data. Now inside my data, let me pull in again sales amount. Okay, so I can see this. And inside my legend, let me pull in the category selection. Right. So if I wish to see by promotion key, then this is what it does. If I wish to see by product key, If I wish to see it by customer key, by sales territory key, irrespective of what my categories are, I can pull in the data and view it together. I have a question on, is Power BI tool free or paid? Well, the Power BI, it's both free and paid. The desktop version is absolutely free. You can download it on any system that supports Power BI. It does not work for on Macs, but on Windows system, you can download and use for free. The limitation, of course, is that unless you have a paid version, you cannot share across by publishing to somebody else. That becomes an added advantage if you go for the paid version. But with the free version, you can share the entire Power BI file as is. So this file that I have created, I can copy this and I can email it to a colleague at any point in time. All right. So coming back to what it was that we were looking at, while I have used this simple selection, of course, this is, let me make this also a drop down and make it a single select. Right. So this will ensure that always there is something that is selected at all times. If I wish to add additional filters, I can add any other filter. At this moment, I'm using a date selection, which has month short name. I can switch this back to year month. And this is what I will see as trends by year month for a promotion key. Imagine this promotion key to be your, if it is HR data, it could be your bands or grades. If it is sales data, it could be a product. If it is some region related data, then you could have the names of regions, of stores, whatever your data. If it is time series data, you have some kind of category values. Those category values you can pull in and use here. But more importantly, you have a lot of flexibility in reporting just by using the basic elements of your calendar table. Just because you have that calendar table, you have this flexibility. The default summations, the default aggregations that Microsoft has is year, quarter, and month. But this allows us a combination of year, month. It allows us weeks. It looks at calendar year, fiscal year, and gives us additional flexibilities like we saw in month names, short names, etc. So this is where, at the very basic level, we can use uh, a calendar table. I see a question here. Can we transfer charts to Excel sheet? Why would you want to? Because the kind of charting that is available here is much richer. You can't actually transfer charts from here to Excel, but then you don't need to, because the charting available here is, well, a whole lot more advanced than Excel. Remember that Excel serves one purpose and Power BI serves a different purpose. In Power BI, even some of the most basic things you can get up. Uh, Charting is richer, possibilities of reporting are richer. What if the data in the Excel file refreshes? Well, it doesn't matter. If my data itself changes, all I need to do is come here and click on refresh, and all of the data refreshes. I don't need to do a single different thing. I do need to come and click refresh. So it's not like I don't need to do anything. I do have to click on refresh. That's important. Let me show you an example. I have here 2008, and in 2008, I have data available till November. Let's see if I have December data somewhere. I have December data as well. Let me copy December and add it into the file. So you see, I have a new file. I have new data that has got added. Okay, this is a new file. So far, my last month is November 2008. I have added in the data. I click on refresh. It pulls in all of the data. It walks through all of those same steps. And now I can see December data automatically appearing here without me needing to do anything. All right. My date table already extends. My date table is set to end of December. Now, if I were to add data which goes beyond 2008, all I need to do is go into transform data, go to the dates table, go to the advanced editor, and change my end year to say 2009. This allows me to pull in additional 1 year's data. I can take data for the next 12 months and bring it in, and nothing will need to be changed. I see a question on what if the file is published? Well, if the file is published, there are refresh options that are available. You can set up scheduled refreshes, and these scheduled refreshes will require you to use a gateway. So there are some additional steps required, or you can periodically just refresh it. It's not such a big deal. You can still refresh it, and the published data will completely refresh. So if you have published it and shared it with somebody, it's there on their Teams channel. Uh, they will see the freshest data if you've clicked on refresh. I have here a question. If you want to switch from finance domain to Power BI domain, can we do that? Well, if you're looking at switching, what you're primarily saying is that you would like to move from finance, core finance, to reporting. Power BI is reporting, and therefore you're just looking to switch from core finance functions to a reporting function, which is perfectly easy and normal because financial reporting is in itself a vast ocean. So you can get into Power BI, you can learn how exactly Power BI functions, and bring in your data and start reporting, build your reports on this. There are multiple ways, there are additional options possible of building reports. There are some standard options available, plus some additional pieces that you can build by yourself. You can learn Power BI. It's relatively easy to use if you know Excel quite well. If you're not very familiar with Excel, it can be a slightly longer learning curve, but not to worry because you can still manage it. Everything is in the visual domain. You are making selections, dragging and dropping, except for the bit where we copy pasted the entire code. And yes, as I have updated, is there any way to update the year by default? Yes, you can. There are ways of doing it. You can combine different options to do it. I choose to retain some degree of control. I have not automated that part yet, but yes, there are scripts which also allow you to pull in that information and automatically update it. So I do believe we are on top of the hour, and I hope that you were able to make some sense of using a calendar table to enrich your reporting, to move beyond the basic dates that are already available and the options that come with basic dates. This gives you a bit more of options, and I have not yet touched upon. I remember somebody mentioning date diff. You won't need really a date diff because a lot of this is already available inside the table. You can use the offset values or you can use the age values. There are additional pieces that you can create and use those for your DAX functions, for your time intelligence. Yes, the calendar table query that I have created is a global query. You can link it with your data to any data that you have and just reuse it. You can change the date view, you can add measures which make use of the automated calculations that you have. And yes, for the recordings, I do believe if you check on the SkillUpRight YouTube page, you should find previous recordings as well. Thank you all for all of your patience and the 1 hour that you have given us for this learning. And yes, we will see how we can try and share the actual script with you as well. I'm not sure if I am allowed to copy this here. Let me try and see. No, I'm unable to paste it here. Uh, does this allow me to drop a file? Give me a moment. I'm so sorry I don't have the YouTube channel link on me immediately, but you can just go to YouTube and search for Skill Upright. It's easy enough to find. Let me try and see if I can. No, I'm not able to upload from here. Yes, you're right. We will try and upload the text file in the YouTube comments. That's a great idea. Thank you all so much once again.